Have you ever wondered, what if a warrior from centuries ago never truly died? What if someone who fought in ancient battles somehow escaped time itself? Tonight, I'm going to tell you a strange and mysterious historical fiction story about a soldier from the Delhi Sultanate, a man who was said to be unbeatable in battle, and who disappeared in a flash of light, only to be seen again centuries later. The story begins around the early 1300s, during the reign of Alauddin Khilji, one of the most powerful rulers of the Delhi Sultanate. At that time, the empire was vast and strong, but it was constantly threatened by enemies at its borders. Armies were always preparing for war, soldiers were trained every day, and battles were fought regularly to protect the kingdom. Among the thousands of soldiers serving in the Sultan's army, there was one man who stood out from the rest. His name was Farid ibn Yusuf. To most people, he looked like an ordinary warrior. He wore the same armor, carried the same sword, and followed the same orders as everyone else. But those who fought beside him noticed something strange about him. Farid seemed afraid. No matter how dangerous the battle became, no matter how many enemies surrounded him, Farid fought with calm determination. His movements were precise, almost unnatural, as if he could predict every attack before it happened. Many soldiers believed that Farid was simply incredibly skilled. Others whispered that something mysterious protected him. One evening, news arrived at the capital that an enemy army had crossed the northern border and was marching toward the Sultanate's territory. The commanders quickly gathered their forces. Thousands of soldiers prepared for war. Horses were saddled, swords were sharpened, and war drums echoed through the night. Farid rode with the army toward the battlefield. When the battle finally began, the air filled with chaos. Horses galloped across dusty fields, arrows flew through the sky, and the clash of swords echoed across the battlefield. Soldiers shouted commands while flames and smoke rose from burning camps. In the middle of all this chaos, Farid fought like a storm. Wherever he went, the enemy line began to collapse. He moved quickly through the battlefield, striking with incredible precision. One enemy after another fell before him. His fellow soldiers began to notice that whenever Farid led the charge, victory seemed inevitable. After the battle ended, the soldiers gathered around their campfires to talk about what they had witnessed. Many of them agreed on one thing: Farid fought as if death itself could not touch him. Days later, after another successful battle, Farid found himself traveling alone through a dense forest on the way back to the capital. The night was quiet, and a thin mist covered the ground. The moonlight barely reached through the tall trees. As he walked deeper into the forest, he noticed a faint light glowing ahead. Curious, Farid followed the light until he found an old man sitting beside a small lantern. The man wore simple robes, and his long white beard moved gently in the wind. His eyes were calm yet strangely intense. The old man looked directly at Farid and smiled. "You are not an ordinary man," the old man said softly. Farid was confused. "What do you mean?" The old man studied him carefully, as if he could see something hidden beneath Farid's armor. "Your path is not like others," the old man continued. "Your story will not end where most stories do." Farid frowned slightly. "I am just a soldier." The old man shook his head slowly. "No, your fate is tied to time itself. If you choose it, time will not be able to stop you." Farid did not understand what the old man meant. Before he could ask another question, a sudden gust of wind blew through the forest. The lantern flickered violently, and when Farid looked again, the old man was gone. Farid searched the area, but there was no sign of him. Only the faint glow of the lantern remained on the ground. A few days later, another great battle erupted at the border of the Sultanate. The enemy army was larger than before, and the fighting was fierce. Thousands of soldiers clashed across the battlefield under a dark sky filled with smoke. Farid fought bravely at the center of the battle. He moved forward through the enemy ranks, cutting his way through the chaos. His fellow soldiers followed him, inspired by his fearless determination. Then something very strange happened. In the middle of the battle, a sudden burst of bright light appeared around Farid. At first, the soldiers thought it was lightning, but the sky was clear. The light grew brighter and brighter until everyone nearby had to shield their eyes. The ground seemed to tremble, and a strange silence spread across the battlefield. And then, The light vanished. When the soldiers looked again, Farid was gone. There was no body, no sign of injury, no footprints. He had simply disappeared. The soldiers searched the battlefield for hours, but Farid was never found again. Some believed he had been killed and his body lost in the chaos. Others remembered the strange light and whispered about something far more mysterious. Eventually, the story faded into legend. Years passed, then decades, then centuries, but the story did not completely disappear. In the early 1800s, travelers moving through a quiet village road reported something unusual. Several villagers claimed they had seen a lone warrior walking through the fog at night. His armor looked ancient, unlike anything worn by soldiers of that time. He carried a sword at his side, and his face was calm and expressionless. One traveler later described the warrior in detail. When historians compared that description with old records from the Delhi Sultanate, they noticed something shocking. The description matched the appearance of Farid ibn Yusuf almost perfectly. The same armor, the same sword, the same face, as if he had not aged a single day in nearly 500 years. Some villagers claimed the warrior vanished into the mist before anyone could approach him. Others said they saw him walking down an empty road and then suddenly disappearing. No one ever managed to speak with him, and no one ever proved who he really was. So the question remains, was Farid ibn Yusuf truly lost in time? Did the mysterious meeting in the forest change his destiny in a way no one could understand? Or were the sightings simply stories created by imagination and fear? History is full of mysteries that we may never fully explain, but sometimes the most fascinating stories are the ones that leave us wondering, because somewhere out there on a quiet road hidden in fog, some people still claim they have seen a lone warrior walking slowly into the darkness, as if time itself could never catch him.